Hey guys, just finished a Nax raid last night, and usually the first thing that I do the next day is go through the logs. So go through the Warcraft logs, and also go back and look at my VOD from Twitch. So this is I've said this in other videos, but this is a good reason to sign up on Twitch. You know, even if you don't really care about people following you or watching you or whatever. I'm not, trying to make it big as a streamer or anything like that. I started recording my stuff not until I was already rating Nax. And I wish I had started a lot earlier because it is extremely helpful. While you're in the moment, and I always do these on Friday because I raid Nax on Thursdays, and I don't want to wait like a week or 4 days or 5 days or whatever, because it's still pretty fresh in my mind about what happened, what I think I did wrong, and I can go through the video and try to pinpoint and go back and look at those moments. If you use Warcraft logs, you can do the replay. So you can click on replay and kind of watch the fight, happen. But this is extremely limited. You can't really see what abilities you're. So if you go to your VOD, you can actually and you can see your action bars. You can see what abilities you were pressing. Also, you can see raid frames. You can see the chat. I have a widescreen monitor, so here in a minute you'll see it shift. You can't see the right side of my screen, but I'll shift it over to the right so I can see some other stuff because I normally don't care too much about the chat. But it's just useful, and then you can put it in slow motion and whatever. But I thought I would go through this as a stream or as a video to maybe show others kind of what I look for and what helps me get better, because that's the whole point of all this, right? You're trying to get, if you're watching this video and you're not trying to get better, like, why did you search for a video on Fury Prot to begin with? You know what I mean? So that's all this stuff is. I don't go back and look and say, oh, you guys should have healed me. I don't ever. There are instances sometimes where healers get distracted. There are instances where other tanks get distracted and grab the wrong mark. That does happen. And sometimes, you want to bring things to light, but, I don't ever go back to my raid leader and say, look what I did great, and look what everybody else did crappy. Because I actually did screw up in this raid, and we're going to go over it. Because that really isn't helpful. If you're trying to get better, and you want your entire raid, there's 40 boxes in this grid. I can't do this raid by myself. Nobody can. So you need all these people working together. And when if all 40 people are thinking the same, and you bring up some feedback, and they're gonna, if they take it well, you're gonna do much better the next raid. So we'll get started. I'm gonna go back out of this to analyze. So I'm going to start with Faerlina. So we start with Spiderwing. I didn't start recording until the trash, until we had already killed a Nubricon. I actually, I thought I had hit start streaming and it didn't start. So I'm gonna put timestamps in the YouTube video as well, so you guys can skip around. But I'm gonna just skip ahead. I'm not going to go through all the trash and how we do the trash. I'm just going to do bosses. So I'm going to Faerlina for one because this is the first boss that I had recorded. I don't tank a Nubricon, and we didn't have any issues on the Nubricon. I tank one of the ads and then DPS on the boss when the ad's dead. We just stack everything. On Faerlina, 2 people died. 2 people ripped aggro and died. And I already know what happened because I looked at the logs. In between trash pulls, we go pretty fast. This video is only an hour and 26 long, so we clear Nax usually in about an hour and a half. But I did go look at the live logs because I felt bad, and I had a pretty unlucky string of parries and dodges on this pull. But what we do for Faerlina is we engage the boss, we drag her over to the left. The followers are sacrificed immediately, and we just kill her in like 40. I was gonna say 40 seconds. 41 seconds was this kill. So if we want to look, we did have a couple folks, parsing pretty well. I parsed to 93, which isn't great. It's not terrible. I was wearing 4-piece tier 3, I believe. Yep, I was wearing 4-piece tier 3, Thunder Fury, Hungering Cold. A fight this short, someone might mention later down the road, why are you wearing a Thunder Fury on a short fight? Technically, Hungering Cold is better in the main hand on short fights, but I don't have Iblis and I don't have Gressel yet for offhand. So I don't really have another option. I do have a CTS, chromatically tempered sword. I could put that in my offhand. But I also don't have a Kiss of the Spider, so I feel like a Kiss would be a better upgrade. So like I said, we'll watch the video. I'll stop it. You'll see what happens. So I'm trying to carry Rage over. I'm at 65 Rage. I have Blood Rage going. I'm looking for critters to kill right there. 63 Rage. I'd like to go closer to 100 if possible, because I'm going to blow Death Wish here. So I blow Death Wish. I already drank a pot. So you see parry, parry, dodge, dodge. And there she turns around. You can't taunt her. Okay, now I've got her back. So now you can see the edge of the threat meter. Just the mage is catching up to me. Everybody else is below. She's about to die. If Rain of Fire, we tank her here, and if Rain of Fire happens, I backpedal. Some people go in circles up on the top. This is faster. Okay. So you saw she turned and she actually killed 2 people, not just 1. So this is how you look that up. So you filter by, you go to the boss, you filter by your name, okay, and then you go to damage done, and then you go to events. Okay, so I opened at 0.9 seconds with a Bloodthirst that did not crit. Melee parry, heroic strike parry, revenge parry, melee dodge, heroic strike, non-crit, 519, melee glancing, heroic strike, non-crit, and I'm full world buffed. So I have, this is not DMF week, but I have Rend, I have Sunflower, I have DMT, I have all the buffs. I've got, I slid my VOD to the side, so now you can see the right, but you can't see the left. But here's my buffs here. So you can see I've got Firewater, I've got Juju, I've got Mongoose. This is an Elixir Armor. I had Weapon Stones on. I was fully buffed. Oh, you can see my buffs up here. Sorry. I've got Roids on, so I'm not using Spirit of Zanza. I do have a Stone Shield, and I Stone Shield here if I don't carry any rage into the fight for some reason. If I'm asleep or whatever and I'm not paying attention, then I won't Stone Shield on her. I will Mighty Rage, but I didn't need to because I was at 60 or 70 rage when I went in. So as long as you have enough rage to Bloodthirst off the bat, it's kind of my, rule of thumb. So you can see I just had like all of these. So I had a melee, a heroic strike, a revenge, a melee, a melee, a melee, a melee, and then so I had glancing. And right around here is where you see that my incoming damage jumps like a 3-second. Right around here is where they pulled. So and then I got her back, and then I start critting. Now here's a crit. Here's a crit. 842 crit. That's more. That one crit right there at 9.8 seconds was more than every single ability individually that hit her before that. That's just a white melee crit. So sometimes you just get unlucky on your opener. And I had my trinket popped. So I had my trinket popped, and I had Death Wish going. So as far as like, what can you do in the future? I mean, I ran in, obviously I had Heroic Strike almost immediately. There's really nothing you can do to reduce parries. Dodges you can reduce through weapon skill, but I'm at 311 already, which is 308 is kind of the cap, what everyone considers the cap. So there's not really a whole lot else that I could have done here, in my opinion. Even if I had worn full threat gear, these, you know, parries and dodges still would have happened. This has really nothing to do with your gear. And the outbound attack, like maybe this Bloodthirst would have crit if I had 5% more crit. You never know. Maybe it wouldn't have. You know, I choose my gear based on how much leeway I think I need to give the healers, and do I think I can generate enough threat. And if we go back, so right here is near the end of the fight. So we're near the end of the fight, and I'm still got a 25% lead over the mage, and I've got a pretty good lead over the next warriors that are coming up. And I didn't go, and if you want to get real nitty gritty, you can go, like, we can go and look at Prima. He's the one who pulled. And again, I'm not throwing blame at anybody here. So look at this. So that was at like 8 seconds when he pulled. So he got a crit for 419, which is not crazy. Bloodthirst crit for 2k. So right there, that's a good chunk of threat for him. He was a little bit in front, looks like, got a parry. Got a Heroic Strike crit for 2k. And don't forget, Heroic Strike does extra threat, so it's 2k plus whatever, 175, I think. And then right around here, so like they get a string of 3 crits. So the melee, and then he right here, Heroic Strike again for 2k. And then he died. So melee, we have to deal with parries. So imagine if I didn't have to deal with parries. So I had 1, 2, 3. Okay, only 3 abilities, but still Revenge was 1, which Revenge is a very good threat ability, especially for the rage that you're spending on it. And a Heroic Strike parry. If I was a melee and able to attack from behind, those would have landed and potentially could have been a crit. It's just the tank life, you know. It's just how it goes. And this happened to me again on Sapphiron. We'll go over Sapphiron later. So then if you go down, like, look at this. Here's, you know, a crit for 1k, white crit for 1k, Heroic Strike 1300. You know, then down here I'm starting to crit a little bit. Bloodthirst crit 2400. If that had been my opener instead of 726, you know, I probably had Crusader up at that point and Trinket still. If that had been my opener, it would have been no problem. But instead, my Bloodthirst was only 700. So I do have a weak aura, because somebody else, you know, might say, well, why don't you have a weak aura that announces when your stuff misses? I do. I have chat bubbles turned off, so my chat window is way over here where you can't see it. Anytime I have an attack that is a yellow attack, so a Heroic Strike, a Revenge, Bloodthirst, anytime those miss, which they don't ever miss because I'm hit capped, but if they miss dodge or parry, I do a /say through a weak aura that says what the ability was, and then what the miss. So it'll say Bloodthirst was dodged, Heroic Strike was parried. So it'll pop up a little chat window so they can see that. But again, you know, that's why, you know, we have threat meters. But I mean, this might have been too. Let's go back and look and see. Let's see what the threat meter looked like.
5, 4, 3.
On the pull, the threat meter is usually a little wonky. Okay, so right there you see. So there's. I can't see whose name that is because it's blurry. Somebody else had an opener and ripped aggro for just a split second. Okay, actually Arcata ripped first. Oops. Let's look at what his opener was. Probably a ton of crits. Actually, not really. So he cleaved. Oh, wait. Let's change it to Grand Widow Faerlina. Bloodthirst for 2200 at 2 seconds in when I had very little threat. Goblin Sapper Charge, just not a ton of damage, but you know. Let's see what I was at 2 seconds in. Yeah, so I had 726, and Bloodthirst does get the modifier from defensive stance, just like every ability, but Bloodthirst does not cause additional threat like Heroic Strike and like Sunder Armor or Revenge. This does not have an additional threat component. So whatever your damage is, that's what your threat is multiplied by your defensive stance. So he pulled it 2 seconds, and I had basically whatever this would be, 850 threat, and he hit a 2.5k Bloodthirst. So even with Salve and even with Berserker stance, that's just not enough. And I didn't even so if these had not been parries again, or if this had been a crit, it would have been fine. Your opener is the when the boss is getting pulled for positioning and for the tank's opener is the most important part of the fight. Once you've got control, 9 times out of 10, it's way easier, because really that early in the fight, like I said, the threat meter isn't even really established. I mean, names are still getting added. You can't really see it, but like names are still going to get populated because some people aren't even on her threat table yet. Yeah, see, look, parry, dodge. Right there was my Bloodthirst. She doesn't even have full Sunders on her yet. She's at 3 Sunders. That's another reason why, and again, I'm not saying that this was his fault or anybody's fault, but if you're in a high-end guild, your raid leader probably yells at you all the time. If you're a warrior, sorry I'm coughing a lot. I am still getting over being sick about a week ago. Your raid leader is probably always constantly yelling at the warriors or harping on the warriors to Sunder first global cooldown. There's 2 reasons for that. The first reason is because a global cooldown is 1.5 seconds. So you can't, when you run in, the only thing you can do on top of a Sunder is a Heroic Strike. You can't Bloodthirst and Sunder Armor in the same global because they're on the global cooldown together. When you Sunder first, first of all, it gets the stack. If we I don't have my grid showing, but we had whatever 10 or 12 warriors in this raid. You only need 5 to land in order to get Sunders up. So even though if every warrior spends a global on it, some of those are wasted, but some of them might have been dodged or parried or missed, or whatever the case. Probably not missed. But you get 5 Sunders up immediately, and that helps the tank increase his white damage, which increases rage, and also the melee obviously increase their white damage. But the second thing it does is it allows the tank that 1.5 to 2 seconds while your global cooldown is cooling down to help establish aggro, because you're rolling the dice. If you're a Fury Warrior and you're running right behind the tank, you're literally right behind his feet as he's running in. He opens up. He's gonna open up with his abilities and dump his rage, and you kind of strafe off to the right and get behind the boss, and you open up. You're taking parries. You're right off the bat. You're taking parry off the table. It's 14%. If he doesn't crit and you do, you're dead. It's as simple as that. There's just nothing you can do. And yeah, the tank is going to have Death Wish up on the pool, and you're not. But again, if you're a Fury Warrior in comparable gear to the tank is in defensive stance. Everything is reduced by 10% off the top. So he's already hitting 10% less. And yeah, he's got more threat through the lack of salvation if you're Alliance, and he's got more threat through defensive stance. But if you crit a 2.5k Bloodthirst, like, he basically has to crit also. A regular 700 or 800 or even 1,000 Bloodthirst is not enough to make up for that. What I'll probably do next time is just remind the Warriors, hey, don't forget to Sunder for first global cooldown, and just give me a second. Wait till she's not even off the ramp. She's not even off the steps yet. I literally just ran in. trying to rewind this just a little bit.
2, 1. Kneel before me.
So right there, she's on me. So right there, she's off me. I didn't even get to the steps. I'm still, you know, strafing and walking backwards, backpedaling down the steps. And she already, you know, threat was already pulled. We used to have DPS assigned to kill certain marks to kill the ads first, and now we just cleave them down. And that's part of the problem, I think, is that if everyone is targeting the followers and cleaving her instead, that nobody would have pulled. A crit whirlwind or a crit cleave isn't going to pull, even if I get a bad string of parries or dodges or whatever. So again, it's just a matter of just waiting that extra, you know, 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds or whatever. Okay, let's go to, so Maxna, I'm going to skip. I didn't tank her, and we really didn't have any issues on Maxna. Noth, I'm going to skip. We'll go, let's see, Lotheb. I'm just going to skip Lotheb because we're trying a new strat on Lotheb, and we didn't have any issues really with Lotheb. I do want to go back and look at the healing because we're trying to pull some healers out. But for the purposes of this video, it's not going to be helpful. So let's go to Four Horsemen. This is where I screwed up. So I'm going to fast forward the video. So that's Resuvius. Then we got Gothic. Oh, Four Horsemen. So so how we do Four Horsemen is a little different than how other people do Four Horsemen. I'm going to just do a replay real quick. Get this back to baseline here. Tables, summary. So I tank Thane first. I'm not really going to show my gear, but because it doesn't matter. So here's the Four Horsemen's room. Most people have Mograine here, Thane here, Blamo here, and Kel'thuzad here. Or not Kel'thuzad, Zeliek. Duh. And then this is where you enter. So let's start this. So you can see the tanks running in. What we do is we stack Thane and Mograine here. Zeliek gets pulled to this corner. Blamo gets pulled to this corner. Now what's supposed to happen is when these two are about to die, the Blamo tank is supposed to bring her about to like right around here, so all the warriors can intercept over, and they're gonna do that so they can avoid, because when the horsemen die, they leave a ghost behind and it resets the timer on their marks. But the ghosts can put marks out, so you can still die to damage. So if you bring Blamo out, you can charge, and then the other Blamo tank taunts, and then that tank gets relief and goes to the safe zone, and then they get back to the corner. I got confused because when I came out, Blamo wasn't here, and honestly, I wasn't really paying attention at the beginning to the chatter because I know how the fight's supposed to go. So when it didn't go the way I expected, I ran over here, and then I sat here for a minute like an idiot, and then I said in comms, which you'll probably hear, hey, who's relieving Blamo? And they said, that's you. And then I had to run. And luckily this tank didn't die, but if he would have died, it would have been my fault. What I should have done is just went ahead and ran across this corner, because when you get confused about who's doing what, you should always pick the thing that doesn't kill somebody. So if you go in early and you don't have any Blamo marks, because I'm in this corner. I've got stacks of Thane and Mograine on me. I don't have Blamo. If this tank only has 2 stacks of Blamo, which we normally go in at 4, and I go in and taunt, that's not a big deal. That doesn't hurt anybody. Then he runs out. He only has 2 stacks. That's fine. If I run here and do what I did, and he gets to 7 or 8 stacks and dies, that could wipe. So I could have caused a wipe on this, and I'm showing it to show that, this is the type of thing I go back and look at, and you need to be critical of yourself. There's no one to blame but me. I knew what the strat was. I knew what we should have been doing, and just because the Blamo tank didn't pull her out for us to charge to doesn't mean I shouldn't have gone there anyway. So we'll, you'll see here. So you see here, Blamo's getting pulled out, Thane's getting pulled out, and then these two are getting pulled over here. And the warriors are cleaving the entire time. They're cleaving both of them down. They're blowing Wreck. They're blowing Death Wish. They go from Thane first till he shield walls. Then they swap to Mograine until he shield walls. Then they go back to Thane till he's shield walls again. Then they go back to Mograine again till he shield walls again. Then they kill Thane. Then they kill Mograine. So it takes a minute. So, and then you'll see, so we'll just keep going ahead here, and you'll see, so healers are rotating. Instead of rotating over here, you see they're cutting across, they're rotating over here. Mages and a few ranged are over here. A few DPS are here DPSing Zeliek. So here, Ort's going over to relieve Zeliek, and I'm supposed to go over to relieve this one. So his mob has already died, so now mine died. So you see, I'm coming here, and then I cut over because I didn't. So that I can't believe I did that. That is the stupidest thing. All the other warriors went there, and kept going, and so now here I come, and then I blood raged and charged, intercepted, and I'm very lucky that Sven didn't die. He had, look at that, he had, is that 5? He has 5 stacks. He has 6 stacks now. He probably he probably had to shadow pot there. So I owe him a shadow pot. That was stupid. So now we'll watch it on the VOD.
It's 2-0. Two Sunders at start. He's always right. Yeah, we'll do 2 Sunders and we'll do 1. Try 5. Then Death Wish.
Got you.
5,
Let's get ready.
4,
Thanks, good morning.
3, 2,
Walk it in.
1.
So I'm Berserker Rage, Blood Rage, taunting. You always want to taunt off the rip, because everybody, if you saw there, everybody Goblin Sapper. So I'm wearing 4-piece tier 3 for the extra taunt hit chance. I disarmed him. So I'm just gonna pause it just real quick. So I should have stone shielded on the way in, and I didn't. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. No, on this strategy you don't stone shield. So I have a fire rune up, if you see here, which is it's a frozen rune. You use it and it absorbs fire damage because Mograine does fire damage. You say in this strategy until we get a little bit more consistent at it. This is not. I don't want to say this is a new new strategy for us, but if you take too long to kill these two and the marks get too high, then you pop a shadow pot as an emergency. That's why I'm not stone shielding. So that's my reminder, weak aura for stone shield. So, but what you do is you go in, you see this one's getting taunted. All the tanks will taunt right off the rip because you want them to be focused on you and building your rage up, because this is one fight that it's very hard to carry rage over into. You also want to get demo. So if you watch, I try to get demo shout up on all 4 while they're here. But that's tricky to do because everyone is going to be sappering and you need to be smashing your threat buttons. And Demo Shout is not a lot of threat. And then these horsemen can be disarmed. So you'll see that while I'm backpedaling, I also disarm him. So taunt. Right there, I just disarmed him. Demo Shout. Now I'm building a Sunder. I'm focusing on positioning, trying to get back. I'm trying to keep in pace with this one so cleaves are happening. We're taking him back to the corner. I should have put Sunders up way faster than that. That's something I could take away for the future. Now Mograine is trying to position weird, so I'm scooting over so he can't get behind me. And I'm just building threat. Like, I've got a big threat lead, but they're about to swap, and you'll see a lot of them catching up. Because I am wearing some fire resist gear. So I'm going to refresh Sunders here in a minute. Somebody should. Okay, I let Sunders fall. That's my fault. And he died anyway. So there's 2 things I messed up there. I should have been sundering more on the way back, and I should have been focusing on the Sunders and refreshing. I was watching. I remember because it was last night. I was focusing on his health points, his hit points, to know when to start strafing and getting away. And I started dipping there, and I was debating on using a cooldown. I don't have. I have Last Stand and I have Hellstone. I have every cooldown up right now. but still, that's no excuse for letting Sunders fall off. That's embarrassing, actually. Okay, so right here, I'm switching to Berserker stance. I'm like, oh, where's the boss? Okay. I guess somebody else is going to relieve him. And I don't know why I thought that. Sven need to relief on B, or somebody got him. So see right there. Like, luckily I asked the question and didn't just let Sven die. But I should have already been there taunting. I should have been pulling off when he had 4 stacks. That is 110% my fault. Yeah. And I walked right through. That was stupid. 4,800 damage. I was trying to jump and charge at the same time, and then I landed. Yeah, I'm very lucky. I did not wipe this raid. It probably would have been just as fast to cut that corner. I thought I could jump and then fly through the air like Superman. So here I taunted. I didn't refresh Battle Shout on the way. Tons of mistakes. Tons of mistakes here. Okay, right here, I should have probably Stone Shielded. Lady Below does not hit that hard. She can also be disarmed. My disarm looks like it's off cooldown now. So I should have disarmed her to help out. Demo Shout's also not up. Yeah. So right there, Void Zone spawned, so I'm moving her. There, we got improved IEA up now. So I have a weak aura. This is a weak aura, and it tracks Demo Shout, Sunders, or IEA, whichever is up. And then it tracks Thunder Fury's debuff. And you can also see it down here as part of Z-Pearl, but I like to have it right here. My eyes are always right here in this box, because I can see the health, I could see the debuffs, I could see my rage, and I can see these are my offensive abilities, whether they're up or not, and I have the rage for them or not. And then I have a weak aura that will notify me if my health dips below 40%, or 40 or 45%. So you see, here comes Hundel relieving me. So now, Blamo's almost dead. I think you can't see the rest of my UI, but I think Zeliek is already dead. That's my weak aura announcing. Yeah, so everybody's coming back. So Z's dead. Blamo's the last one to die. So that's the end of the fight, basically. There's not a lot of things to actually analyze as far as the logs go. This is why having a Twitch VOD to go back to is so useful, because yes, I could have watched the replay here, but obviously seeing, like, you're not going to see void zones on the replay. It's not going to show you stuff like that. And it's much faster to just watch this than it is to dig through the logs and see, you know, where did I take damage? How much damage did I take? Like, I can just look right there and just, you know, see everything I did wrong. And I can see the debuffs. You know, you can see, when you can see your UI, and in the moment last night, I know that I was worried about things other than keeping Sunder or Disarm up. Like, I was kind of shook a little bit that I had let that happen, that Sven almost died, and that I almost killed myself running through a void zone. So I know that that's the reason why I was not focusing on Battle Shout. I was not focusing on Demo Shout. I was not focusing on Disarm. But now that I go back and look at it while I'm sitting here not pressing any buttons, it lets you look at it in a different light and realize, like, yeah, you need to slow the fuck down next time and pay attention. Just do what you're supposed to be doing. And if someone is, like, if I would have run over, like I said, and taunted, it would actually would have been perfect. He was at 4 stacks. But if, let's say, he was only at 3 stacks, he's not going to say, hey, turn around and leave. He's going to let me come over and taunt, and then he's going to run out for relief. It wouldn't have been a problem. So I don't really know why I did it that way, but, you know, going back and analyzing and looking at it and thinking critically about your own gameplay, that's what makes sure that that type of thing won't happen again. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna fuck up. Like, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna fuck up probably the next week that we're in next doing something different. Like, there's almost never a week where I don't make at least one mistake. I'm very lucky that I didn't wipe the raid. I could have easily wiped the raid with that behavior. And if I had, nobody would have, we don't yell at each other. We don't, somebody probably would have posted the logs or posted a VOD or, said, here's what happened. And you just got to eat it. That if it's your fault, eat it. What are you going to do? Argue with a VOD? So you might as well watch your own and critique yourself. Let's see. Patchwerk. Really nothing crazy happened on Patchwerk. I main tanked him. I think I think we had some deaths along the way. Yeah, there wasn't a ton. I mean, the mages did really well on Patchwerk. I don't know what happened with the warriors. We still have some world buff warriors here. We actually killed him in the hallway instead of where we normally kill him, which might have gotten some people's heads. Let's see, Gluth. I don't think anything crazy happened on Gluth. Actually, let's go watch Gluth, because this is a great example of... Well, I'm going to sound like I'm bragging, but I don't want to... So let's go to Patchwerk, just so you could see where we killed him. We normally kill Patchwerk when he's standing here, which is what most guilds do. Right when we killed the trash pack, he started walking away, and we just didn't have the mana, or we weren't ready. But we made the call to say, hey, we're going to go fight him. So we chased him down the hallway. So we'll just watch just a few. I'm main tanking. Right there's my weak aura that alerts when I'm low on health. You see I'm scooting to the back. Whoops. So I probably should have... The tanks as a group probably should have been standing over here. We've only tanked him in this hall. This is the second time we've ever tried it. It's actually probably good for melee to be here so they can dip fast. But I'm scooting to the right, so I remove... You see right there I had a parry. Anytime I hear him parry me, I scoot to the right a little bit until he's not parrying me anymore, because he faces the off tanks. That increases your threat by a lot, because it obviously it removes parry from the table. So now if you watch, you won't see any more parries. And those abilities that could have been a parry could now turn into crits. And you see, you can't see my name, but that's me. I'm on the top of the threat meter, and here comes the mage, here comes Ignite. So I'm keeping an eye on Ignite. I'm just spamming all my buttons. You can see me down here spamming. But I'm not watching down here. I'm watching up here. I'm watching Bloodthirst, and I'm queuing Heroic Strike in between every ability. I'm watching Demo Shout. Keep Demo Shout up on Patchwerk 100% of the time. We have IEA up. Okay, the mage is... If the mage gets close enough, I will Death Wish. But if I Death Wish, then I'm gonna blow Last Stand or Shield Wall or something. But I don't end up Death Wishing. I don't Death Wish on Patchwerk unless I have to. So here you see Demo Shout. I start refreshing Demo Shout around 10 seconds. That's when my reminders kick in. So you see no parries. This is how you should main tank Patchwerk. You should not be out to the side or next to these tanks. There's no reason for it. Get your ass over here. You shouldn't be standing with the melee on top of the melee. You should be over here, because if one of these two hateful tanks die, you will start taking hatefuls as well, and he will turn. If any one of these two tanks dies, I'm immediately going to scoot over here. So you do need to be just outside of parry range, but you do not stack behind him. If he turns to hateful strike you, all these warriors are going to parry haste him, and you're going to die fast. So you see he's almost dead. I'm going to put on a shield right when he enrages. He enrages, I think, at 10%. I have plenty of a threat lead I can put a shield on. Shield block. Just spam Heroic Strike. And then he's dead. Okay, so nothing crazy happened, but that, you know, just for future, you know, Patchwerk tanks. Grobulus is not an interesting fight. So here's Gluth. So I'm main tanking Gluth. I'm pretty much wearing the same thing I've been wearing on the bosses, 4-piece tier 3, and some threat gear. Oh, duh. Because that only lasts an hour. So Death Wish. All right. So I'm blowing my trinket here. I'm gonna blow Death Wish. So typically you want the tank to be the first one out of the. So you can see. I don't know how Boob is running that fast. Look how fast he's running. What does he do? What does he got? So I should have drank the Stone Shield on the way down. Should have had the Stone Shield as I was coming down the pipe right at the end. Should have Death Wished earlier. I didn't Death Wish on the opener. Those are two mistakes that I made. Okay, right there. That's what I wanted to see. So you see, I got glancing, non-crit, Bloodthirst. I got very lucky that I didn't kill somebody here. Okay, so I'm backing. We back him up to the corner, or to the wall. So I'm gonna backpedal this whole time. So he hits me twice. So right there, he enrages. He crits me. And you're gonna see my weak aura. My weak aura is just starting to come into focus. Right here, it's gonna say. It says. I think it says protected. But that is to let me know I'm below. I just got dropped below 40% health, and that lets me know to either last stand is on cooldown. You can see, I either need to last stand or blow a health stone. But what I usually do is quickly glance at my health bar. Excuse me, and they healed me up so fast I didn't have a chance. So you see, I got a heal, and then right here I've got 2 or 3 big heals coming in. So he crit me, which probably helped with my threat, so because I'm enraged. So now he's enraged. What I should have done here, and we only have one hunter, I think. So on Gluth, he enrages, which is it's like a frenzy effect. The hunters can trank shot it, but if you only have one hunter, you have to eat every other one. Usually the hunter will say, I've got this one, you're eating the next one. The hunter is my brother in this raid, so I'm probably gonna say, you know, hey, why didn't you call that out? But I do start putting a shield on when I notice it here in a few minutes. And this is when you're Fury Prot, you know, people are like, oh, you know, when are you gonna put a shield on? How do you know to put a shield on? Here's one instance where I know I need to put a shield on because I know I'm gonna be eating these frenzies, and he almost just killed me. So I'm gonna start paying attention to the frenzies, and you'll see me put shields on. I'm also looking at my threat. My threat lead is really high right now because the pool again is the most important part. Once you have him backpedaling about 10 yards and you're dumping into him with Death Wish, everyone else is moving into position so they can heal you, and these guys are moving into DPS. They're not going to be able to catch up to you. So you can put a shield on. And look how much rage I have. I'm just turning around to see how far the wall is. So there's a fear. So I don't, right here, I don't have Fear Ward, but I have Death Wish up. So I'm not going to call for a Fear Ward until Death Wish drops. But our priests normally are pretty good about putting it back on me. So you'll see right here. Oh, there's a shield. So I saw him frenzy. Or sorry, that's not frenzy, that's me. So so it says, where'd it go? Gluth goes into a frenzy. I put a shield on. That's mortal wound on me, sorry. So look at my threat lead. I've got the next person is at 40%, so I could probably wear a shield the rest of the fight, but I'm not going to. But right there, I absorbed a crushing blow right before I put the shield on. Absorb is probably from the power word shield. So right there, 138 blocked. I think that's what that says. That's one reason why Prot sucks. Like, out of 1,200, I blocked 138. And granted, I'm not wearing full tier 3. The good thing about blocks is you can't be a crit or a crush. The actual block portion sucks. There's not enough block value in the game to make block worth it. You do it so you don't get crit or crushed, and you do it to add stamina and armor from the shield. Okay, so now I got my Fear Ward. Death Wish has about 8 seconds left. I went back to dual wielding because he shrinks. See? Now he's frenzying again. Now he got tranked.
So we should be green light straight into this.
So I know the next one I gotta eat. And if you see me shouting, sometimes I'm refreshing Demo Shout, but if I have a ton of rage and you see me shouting, that's Battle Shout. I have Heroic Strike and Battle Shout macroed together, so whenever I have tons of rage, I will spam Battle Shout to dump my rage. Because you can't Sunder Armor when IEA is up. And Battle Shout is usually better anyway. So here, Frenzy. Shield. Shield block. Got a new Fear Ward already. Block. Okay, now I see him shrink. Now I go back. Now the Hunter should shrink this one. He does. I put a shield on anyway because he was a little bit late. So, and then there. So, again, I almost died on the pool. That's where you need to be on your toes, is on the pool. But you do need to have a shield block macro, which I have, that puts on a shield and shield blocks at the same time in one button. And then I have another keybind over here. I think it's Shift 7 is shield block, and then Shift 7 is dual wield. All right, let's go to, we're almost done. We're going to go to Sapphiron. And we're only going to go to Sapphiron. I'm not going to show Kel'thuzad because it was a disaster. We killed him, but it was still a disaster. So Sapphiron, I'm going to go back. Okay, so I got to go back a lot. Okay, so on Sapphiron, the way that you should be doing it, and obviously it depends on your guild. There's a misconception out there that everybody needs frost resistance on Sapphiron. Healers should not be wearing frost resistance on Sapphiron. Tanks, I have 0 frost resistance on. I have frost resistance aura from a paladin, but I have no pieces of frost resistance. I'll show you exactly what I was wearing. So I have, this is my mitigation set. So I have 7 out of 9 Dreadnought. Pendant of the Karaji Guardian. I have this because I don't have the Cthulhu neck yet. If I had the Cthulhu neck, I'd be wearing that. Girdle of the Mentor, because the reason I'm wearing Girdle of the Mentor and the reason I'm wearing Steadies instead of Tier 3 is because Tier 3 gloves and Tier 3 belt have a block chance and block value on them. And as we just saw on the previous fight, those two stats are garbage. I think that, yeah, the legs have block value on them, but they also have dodge. If these had, I would probably wear 2.5 over these if it was, instead of dodge, if it was block by 1% or block by 2%. Dodge is a very good stat. Block is not a good stat. And block value, there's people that'll say block value is good. I would say it would be good if it was possible to stack it, but it's just not. You just don't block enough damage. It's just not, it's not good enough in my opinion. And there's not enough fights where you actually use it. Oh shoot. So I've got Girdle of the Mentor plus Girdle of the Mentor. This is an amazing belt. Amazing belt. The Belt Off Twins is probably a little better for mitigation, but even when I get it, I don't know if I will use it over Girdle of the Mentor. I'll probably use it on Patchwerk, but I don't think I would use it in my mitigation set. Mentor is, you need to get this as soon as you can in Nax. As soon as you get into Nax, you need to get this belt. It's amazing. So Dreadnought Sabaton's great. They got dodge, they got defense, they got stamina. That's what you want. You don't want block or block value. Bracers, these are great bracers for mitigation. Steadies, these are flat out amazing gloves. It sucks they don't have hit on them like some other gloves do, but if you don't need to hit, these are best in the slot in my opinion. Not for threat. These are a good balance of threat and mitigation, but these are damn good. That's a lot of agility with the enchant on these gloves. Ring of the Dreadnought, best ring in the game for mitigation in my opinion. I'm wearing Signet of the Fallen Defender because I need the hit. Once I get the neck from Cthulhu that has hit on it, I'll drop this ring for a different ring. Probably a different mitigation ring from AQ40. Mark of the Champion because he's undead. Slayer's Crest for extra threat. Cloak of the Scourge, it's a very good mitigation cloak, especially if you need the hit. You know, so I start dual wielding. There's no frost resist in here. None of these are frost resist pieces. 0. You don't need frost resist as a tank. You don't. As a healer, I've never played a healer on Sapphiron, but according to what I've seen and heard my other healers, you know, talking about, what they do is they do 2 or 3 heals to someone else, then they heal themselves. 2 or 3 to someone else, then they heal themselves. You just gimp your healing too much if you put on frost resist, is what I've been told. So what you're gonna do is start out this fight dual wielding as a tank, or you should anyway, and if you don't, that's fine. I don't Death Wish on Sapphiron. I probably could, but I don't. That might change in the future. Instead of Death Wishing, I just dual wield in the beginning. What I probably could do is so normally what I do is dual wield until the first air phase. When the air phase, and that's just to build a threat lead, because what happens is Sapphiron fight is so long that you can Death Wish twice as a DPS warrior usually. So we took 3.5 minutes. So if you Death Wish right off the rip, Death Wish is a 3-minute cooldown. So you can so our warriors, you'll see they'll Death Wish right off the rip, and then by the time he's getting close to the end, they can Death Wish again. So you need to have threat to hold off that Death Wish. If your guild does a different strategy, that's fine. You don't have to dual wield, but it is possible to dual wield him and live. Like it, the threat issues at the beginning of this fight are pretty massive. Sapphiron though does hit hard. I'm not gonna lie. Like that's why I'm wearing all this gear. He hits hard, so you need to be ready. You need to be prepared to save your own life. So I have everything up. There's right here's where my cooldowns would be. I have Shield Wall up. I have Last Stand up, and I have a Health Stone up. So I've got my cooldowns ready.
Early Sapphiron nap.
But what happens? I'm just gonna show you. What happens is somebody pulls aggro because I get unlucky again with a string of parries, and somebody's not watching the threat meter and then pulls aggro. I'm gonna duel at the beginning, don't forget.
Yep, all heals started at the start. But there's no will.
So that's another reason why this fight sucks, is because you can't really carry rage over. I mean, you can, but depends on what boss you fight before this. We just got done fighting Thaddeus because we are thinking about doing a Polarity Thaddeus in the future. After Thaddeus dies, you have to spread out, wait for the debuff to drop, so your rage is all gone. If you do, like, let's say you do Lothab last, or any other boss last, you could come straight in here and then pull immediately, depending on your healer's mana, and try to carry some rage over. But it's very hard. And in my opinion, you don't want to MRP here. You want to Stone Shield.
Don't be too close, don't parry.
So you hear me clicking, I'm just right clicking. I don't want to hit BT because okay, there's my trinket. There's my pot. So there's a dodge revenge. So here's the threat meter. So threat is established. Right there. Sorry, I just accidentally hit tab. So if you watch, so threat is pretty good. But this is the beginning of the fight. 30% lead at the beginning of the fight. Look at that. It's only 1k threat. That's a crit Bloodthirst is going to rip off of me right here. So right here I had a parry. Miss. That was a white miss. So parried Heroic Strike, dodged Bloodthirst. parried Revenge, dodged Heroic Strike, parried White Attack. So you see, now my threat lead, it's still 1k. I've got more threat, but so does this person. Now look, oh, ripped threat. And then he turns, and the problem with Sapphiron is, if Grand Widow Faerlina turns on you and kills you, like, okay. If Sapphiron turns, he cleaves. He could kill every warrior over here. So we got really lucky that he only killed, I think he killed 2 people. So now I've got a full rage bar, but I don't, Bloodthirst is on cooldown. And Revenge is on cooldown. I'm spamming the shit out of them. I'm spamming Heroic Strike. So they both die. I get threat back. And then, of course, the will of the gods. Now I got a 2k almost Bloodthirst and a 1k Heroic Strike. Now I've got a decent threat lead. I've got 3 or 4, k threat lead. And there's nothing and then another crit. So you can't sit here and watch. Like, I heard the parries going off, but I'm not watching this. Like, I'm not watching my damage. I'm not watching my parries. I can hear them happening, but so can everybody else. Everybody else can hear those sounds in the game. I'm watching my abilities here, and I'm watching debuffs here, and I'm watching, I'm keeping an eye on my rage. I'm focusing right here, and if you turn and look at this, you're gonna miss a Bloodthirst. Like, I'm watching out to make sure I'm not standing in a blizzard. And then you see everybody here is Death Wishing. And it sucks to blow Death Wish and then stop pressing abilities as a warrior, but if you're going to rip threat and die, you kind of have to do that. But as a tank, like, I can't taunt. There's nothing I can do to get threat back. I'm already doing what I could have maybe Death Wished as well, but at that point, you can't Death Wish and then magically get it back. Like, it happens so fast. But now I just got a bunch of crits in a row. Now I'm 5k above the next person.
Which was the sun there?
Okay, so normally this is about where I like to put a shield on, is like right before air phase, but I did not like this threat lead, so I kept dual wielding, and then right here, so he hit me with a cleave and then 2 melees. And almost killed me, but you'll see my health gets right back up. See, like, they already got me back up to like 60%. Okay, crit Revenge, great for threat. Crit Heroic Strike. And you see, like, there was a crushing. Like, he's crushing me, he's cleaving me, he's hitting me. Like, he hits hard. Sapphiron hits 2k, he hits hard. You should have a lot of rage, but again, like, there's nothing you can do to take parries off the table. Right? Oh, there's a nice crit, and then of course he parried the Heroic Strike. So now I've got a really comfy threat lead. Now I'm 20k above. Okay, now I'm putting a shield on. Now I'm gonna keep a shield on the rest of the fight. We're not gonna watch the rest of the fight because it's more of the same thing. It's nobody else pulls threat anymore. So I just wanted to go through this to show, as a tank, sometimes there's things you can do, sometimes there's nothing you can do. When people pull threat off of you, nothing feels worse, than that boss turning away from you and one-shotting or two-shotting somebody and then turning back to you. And the first thing you want to do is say, look at your gear and say, well, was I wearing the wrong gear? I don't think I had the wrong consumes on. I mean, I've got Mongoose, I got Firewater, I got World Buffs. This is near the end of the raid, so I didn't have Rend or Songflower anymore, but neither do these guys. Roids only last an hour, and sometimes these guys will double Roids, so they'll use a Roids in the Blasted Lands and then get another one in their bags. I don't do that, but I do have Scorpok, which is 25 agility, which would be some additional crit, so I could probably do that. Sorry, I just got a text message. But that doesn't stop parries and dodges from happening. I mean, sometimes you just get unlucky and you get a big string like that. And like I said, I have a weak aura that announces it in chat that Bloodthirst dodged, Heroic Strike dodged, Bloodthirst parried. It says that those abilities didn't land. But what happens, I think, is that sometimes, and I'm guilty of this as well, is that, you know, there's a tank running in, you know that tank is good, and you trust that tank, and you just run in and you just start going, you know, start going ham. I've learned, I normally don't have salvation on, so like on Maxina, for example, I'm not going to go to, I don't think I could find Maxina that fast. On Maxina, I normally don't have salve because I'm removing it as a tank, and I won't sit there and like harp on them to give it back to me. So if I'm DPSing, I go into Berserker stance. I just know to take it easy on Heroic Strike because that I don't need that additional threat for the first 5 or 10 seconds of the fight. And if I crit a Bloodthirst, then I won't Bloodthirst, you know, for a little bit. I'll Whirlwind and then Heroic Strike, and I'll keep an eye on the threat meter. But I'm also a tank, and I'm used to looking at the threat meter anyway. But sometimes you just need to remind your DPS, like, hey guys, you know, and that's what I did. Like after the raid was over, I pulled this up. You could see, so right around 11 seconds is when that person pulled aggro and died. Because you see, I was taking pretty consistent damage, and then from 10 to 12 seconds, nothing. So right around here, and you can also go back and look on the VOD and see. But this is where all of those happened. So some glances did happen in the beginning. He melee, or he parried my first melee, but that's a white hit. That's not a big deal. My first Bloodthirst landed. It was non-crit. That's not good. 500 Bloodthirst is terrible. You know, everybody says, "Oh, just press Bloodthirst." Okay, for 500 threat or 600 threat, like that's not really saving the world there, is it? Heroic Strike, I think it's 175 extra threat on top of the damage. So this is over 1,000 threat, and not including defensive stance. That's double what this Bloodthirst was. My Thunder Fury crit, that's nice, but then you just get an unlucky string here, and your threat plateaus. That's something else you can do, is look at this threat graph, and this is, I talked about this in another video, but there's an extension called Warcraft Logs Threat Link, WCL Threat Link. So if you install that, when you come to Warcraft Logs, there'll be this button here. So you open it in a new tab. Okay, and it's going to be near the bottom. Sapphiron, fetch release, or refresh. Sorry. Look at that. Look at my threat plateau. So I don't know why it doesn't show. Oh, it's down here. Sorry. Oh, that's an airphase. Duh. So this is 50 seconds. Let's just zoom into this. There's 10 seconds. So let's just look at like 15 seconds, I guess. So it's still kind of hard to see. I'm not a professional at this tool. It's right around. You see right here. You can see my threat is kind of stair stepping up a little bit, and then right here it just kind of like flattens out. Like where's? So what you can do is click on names. Like let's just click on names. So there's me. So you see right here from about 5.2 seconds in until right around here, I think is where threat got ripped and then that person died and then I got it back and then it jumps up. This is where all those and this shows some threat, but it doesn't show, like, let's see. Received melee, Thunder Fury, received cleave, melee. I don't think this shows the 0 damages, which would be the parries and the dodges and whatnot. It's just showing the things that actually cause threat. You can see that it's a big, it's not, if it was stair stepping up, it would be like that. it's a big plateau there. And I think Reza was the one that pulled. Yeah, right there. So here's the one that pulled, and you could see his threat is kind of, even though he's got salve on, you can see, you know, he's keeping up with me, and then he passes me. So if it what we were both kind of going up at the same pace, if it wasn't for that string of parries and dodges, I would have been fine. I would have stayed above him. He just crossed over, you know, probably got a crit. Yeah, I probably want to look at this. Yeah, Bloodthirst. Look at that. 2200 Bloodthirst. It's got, probably has Death Wish up and all trinkets and whatever. Whirlwind for 1200. Melee for 1200. It just, I mean, just, that's just a lot of crits. Heroic Strike 2200. Oof, that's right when he pulled. That's a big Heroic Strike. Had a non-crit Bloodthirst for almost 1400. You know, again, it's just, you know, what are you gonna do? It's just, it's tank life. You know, you have to, it's parry and dodge life. You know, sometimes that's what it is. These glancing, these look bad, but I'm at 311 weapon skill. With Thunder Fury, I'm only at 305. So these glances actually are reduced by quite a bit over my regular melee. It's funny, I didn't even have... So I had melee parry, melee miss, melee glancing, melee glancing, melee glancing, melee parry, melee miss, melee glancing, melee parry. I didn't have a regular melee until 10.5 seconds in the fight. Just one-handed melee. This is my offhand because I'm spamming Heroic Strike. So that's why the damage looks terrible. Actually, I'm sorry, I take that back. I was dual wielding here, so I did have 311 weapon skill. So the glances aren't bad until I put a shield on, which is not till the first air phase, which is, you know, however long that was. I'd have to go back and look at the air phase. But this is, you know, what I'll do. Let's look at Kel'thuzad real quick. Or I'm not going to look at the end of it, because the end of it sucked. So I'm not going to really look at my damage done. I got mind controlled. I was off tank and I got mind controlled. So we do Kel'thuzad a little bit differently than some people, I think. So let's skip to the end. Or not to the end, but the end of this. Okay, here he's engaged. Okay, so Kel'thuzad, we have a main tank who's going to tank him, and we have 2 off tanks. I'm one of the off tanks. These are the remaining adds. So Kel'thuzad is going to engage. The main tank is going to grab him and pull him. The off tanks then stack on the main tank, and then we have separate melee groups stacked up just like everybody else does. So I think a lot of other folks don't stack the tanks together. They have no one stacked on the main tank. And it is a little bit dangerous due to Frost Blast, but we found that during the MC phases, stacking the tanks helps ensure that one of those off tanks will get aggro and Kel'thuzad moves a lot less. And you'll kind of see that happen.
You're killing trash.
So we're killing trash. I accidentally pull aggro on this like a dummy. So if you watch, here's me. I'm in defensive stance. I was... Oh god. Yeah. So I almost died there. That was stupid. These things... So what we have is... What we have, if you didn't notice, is a paladin spamming Blessing of Kings. And they stand in the back somewhere, and they spam Blessing of Kings on the warriors, and that creates a ton of threat. So all of the adds will slowly move towards the paladin, and then everybody else can DPS them.
Banshee thread, guys.
Okay, so here's the marks. So we have we create a 4-point, you know, kind of cross around Kel'thuzad. Tanks in the front, blue melee group here, orange melee group here, and then pink or diamond or whatever melee group here.
Banshee thread.
So you'll see Hoon and myself, and this is getting really grainy for some reason. We stack here. These guys will all stack up, and then they do their rotation for kicks to kick frost bolts. So my job is basically put Thunder Fury on. So you don't want Thunder Fury on when you're doing the ads because it can jump into the cubbies and pull the entire cubby, and it happens all the time. So put Thunder Fury back on. Keep Thunder Fury up on Kel'thuzad. He slaps. He hits very hard. And then you'll see me saving, like you'll see Bloodthirst be off cooldown a lot. What I'm doing is because there's no the MC the I almost said Molten Core. The MC, the mind control, can happen pretty much at any time. So what you want to do is save Bloodthirst, and you want to save your trinket, and you want to try to snap threat as soon as the MC happens. I ended up getting MC'd with the main tank. The main tank always gets MC'd. I got unlucky and I ended up getting MC'd, but luckily Hoon was able to pick it up. But what you want to do is just spam Heroic Strike for damage, and then keep your rage high, because there's really no other ability you can use except Bloodthirst and Heroic Strike. But you want want Bloodthirst to be off cooldown when he casts MC, so that a mage with Ignite or another warrior or whatever doesn't pull aggro. You want him to stay planted right here and get that snap threat. So you'll see his Frostbolts getting interrupted. There's me just right there. I just told the other tanks, put your TFs back on, because I want to get the debuff on him. The three of us all have Thunder Fury. Right, so right there, that was a very fast MC. Like, some people might say, oh no, he doesn't MC till he's at 50%. That's bullshit. You don't know what you're talking about. He, sorry, he can basically do MC. I know he's got a cooldown on it, but he can MC. It can happen. Like, don't run in there and be like, I can Bloodthirst 4 or 5 times. I wouldn't. You can do whatever you want, but I wouldn't. I would, and again, I got MC'd, but I was pooling rage. This is probably not enough rage. Bloodthirst is 30 rage. Let's rewind it just a little bit. Okay, I'm at 83 here. I had hit Bloodthirst once because I thought, I can Bloodthirst. What's the big deal? That 900 damage, like, just cast Heroic Strike. Keep Sunders up till IEA is up. Focus on the debuffs. Cast Heroic Strike. Don't even cast Bloodthirst. Yes, back on. Now I cast it again. He parried it. That's another thing. You're just introducing more parries as well. Now, I'm mostly focusing on my rage. I want my rage to be above 50, not at 100. I want it to be about 70 or 80. Because I'm going to Bloodthirst. As soon as he MCs, in my mind, I want to cast Bloodthirst and cast Heroic Strike together. Right there, that's 45 rage. So I'm going to try to blow my trinket, which I had already blown it for some reason. So that's a takeaway. I didn't even realize I did that. I blew my trinket. That you don't want to do that. Save your trinket for the MC. But you need to have at least 50 rage. You want to be able to Heroic Strike and Bloodthirst right off the bat when he MCs. Right there, MC. Okay, luckily, I can't really read this. I think that's Pip. Yeah, that's one of the Fury Warriors. Now he's on the tank. So Hundal's the other tank. We have only one tank available. The other 2 tanks are MC'd. So he luckily was able to pull aggro from that Fury Warrior. And we're telling everybody, stop attacking, stop attacking. Look at all these Death Wishes. Everybody's got Death Wish up. And again, and some folks had wrecked. We're trying to get him burned as quick as possible, to get him to execute phase as quick as possible. Upsurge MC, get him. So there, I just said, get me. Thank you. Sheet me. Okay, demo shout is about to fall off. I thought about saying something, but I didn't. You want demo shout on this boss. There's certain bosses that it's not a big deal. You want demo shout to be up on Patchwerk, Thaddeus, Kel'thuzad, Sapphiron, Lotheb, 100% of the time. Even if you don't have improved demo shout, get it up and keep it up. I should have reminded. So here, again, this is stupid of me. I remember last night seeing that about to fall off, thinking, oh, I'm going to, as soon as I come out, I'm casting it right away. I've got 4 seconds left. If he crits or crushes Hoon without demo shout up, it's extra damage for no reason. I should have said, hey, Hoon, demo shout. Like, that doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't hurt anybody to do that. So you'll see when I come out, I demo shout right away. And then I battle shout. So I didn't battle shout first. I demo shouted. Okay, now you're going to see Bloodthirst stay off cooldown. I'm not going to cast Bloodthirst. So I'm just casting Heroic Strike. I'm waiting for that MC. I just sundered, I refreshed. We get tombed right here, I think. We get tombed at some point. So see, this whole time I have not cast Bloodthirst. Tomb. Okay, I think Ort just died there. I luckily got tons of heals, and Hoon got tons of heals. Hoon still has aggro. MC is about to go out. This is a... And the Ice Crown guys are coming out. There's the MC. Okay, you're gonna... Now you see me, I bloodthirsted already. As soon as I saw it, I bloodthirsted. He turns anyway. This guy has Death Wish on. So I got a crit bloodthirst, but it's only 1725. But I do end up getting aggro. So right there I got aggro. I Death Wished. I rolled the dice and Death Wished. Now I drank a Stone Shield. So you see I right there drank a Stone Shield. I got Death Wish up. I'm looking at my health. So right here, this type of situation, what we do is our strategy is to shackle some of these Ice Crown guys, and then we have a Paladin spamming Kings in the back, and then the Paladin tanks the other ones by themselves. They spam Kings, then they spam heals on themselves. I think the Paladin died at some point, and things just start going sideways. Sir's got it. So here I'm paying very close attention to my health because I have Death Wish up. Right here I think I blow Last Stand, so this is very low, 4k. He just meleeed me for 3,500. He could kill me right here. Last Stand, I just popped it. Okay, I'm up. I'm doing decent. I'm at 8,500. So I'm trying to keep debuffs on him. Trying to watch my health. I don't know if Sunders fall here. Oh no, they got refreshed. I'm gonna shield wall. Okay, so right there was I probably shouldn't have shield walled there, and here's why. He's at 10%. You can't see my raid frames, but you can see from the VOD there's a lot of people dead. There's dead people here, Ort's dead here, if there's dead people here. Shield wall does not last a long time, and I had 5 seconds on Last Stand. I should have waited for Last Stand to fall. I blew shield wall preemptively, and I let the healers know I'm blowing shield wall because I wanted them to be able to focus on other people. But that probably was not the right call. And I don't think it was the right call because people start dying left and right here. And I could have saved shield wall for later. I ended up not dying, but we barely killed him. And I have a shield on right now. So you see right there, I've got my shield. I'm shield blocking. I put a shield on so that because you can't shield wall unless you have a shield on. So I put a shield on and said, hey, I'm casting shield wall, and I just cast it. So I'm overlapping them now. Shield wall only has 6 seconds left. So he's only dropped down. He went from 10% down to 5%. I should have... Now look, the paladin died. I've got aggro. The paladin died. We only have one other off tank up. Everybody else is DPS. Now in this situation, the raid leader's probably going to call for a burn and just burn the boss, which I think is what we did. Just burn the boss down. People start dying left and right here, though. If he would have MC'd here, we would have wiped.
Get the ads, guys.
Okay, right there, my health dropped dangerously low. Let's watch that again. So shield wall starts falling. I have a weak aura that tells in chat when shield wall's about to fall, but again, not everybody's staring at chat. I probably should have called it out. Okay. 2,700 plus a frostbolt.
Get the ads, guys.
Another frostbolt. Yeah, I'm that. So last stand is down. Shield wall is down. So this is why I said I probably didn't shield wall properly. If I would have died here, I would have felt we would have wiped. I could have wiped the raid or caused a wipe because he's at 4%, and which doesn't sound like a lot. But you know, the way that my UI set up, it's hard to tell. It's only at 4%, but that's still a good chunk of health, especially when a lot of your DPS are dead. And these guys are now running around killing people. I probably could have used shield wall better here. I used the Hellstone though. You'll see me use the Hellstone. Right there. When that pops up saying needs Hellstone, I just popped it. I thought about AoE taunting right there. I really thought about AoE taunting as they walked past me, and I didn't. Because even though I just got to full health, I don't want Kel'Thuzad on me plus these dudes. Even though he's at 1%. In hindsight, maybe I should have, but I had nothing left. I didn't have any cooldown. If I had shield wall, again, I 100% would have challenging shouted and then shield walled and would have been okay. And then, you know, probably would have saved whoever they're about to go kill.
Ads are wiping people. There's a guy that can get him down. There we go.
So we got very lucky. So look at that. There's you can't see outside of my screen or behind me, but from what you can see, there's 4 of us up. Everybody else is dead. I think 8 people lived. 6 or 8 people, I think, lived. And of course, he dropped garbage. So here I'm just standing here because I'm thinking, for one, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm alive, and I have nothing left. But what a waste of shield wall that was. That was stupid, is what I was thinking in that moment. And looking back on it now, I'm just reaffirming that. I think it was stupid. Sometimes it's okay to preemptively blow cooldowns. Sometimes it's smart to do that. In this particular situation, I don't think it was smart to do that. I got lucky, and I easily could have died and caused a wipe. But, you know, again, this is why it's nice to have these VODs and go back and look and see, you know, what actually did happen. What buttons was I really pressing? Did I really use a Hellstone? I know I pressed the button, but did I really use it or not? Because sometimes you think you used a cooldown and you go and look at the logs and it's like, nope, you never had last stand up. But you can see, you know, I used everything. I still had lip to use, but you really can't taunt Kel'Thuzad anyway, so you can't lip. So I couldn't have taunted those ads and then lipped them, because Kel'Thuzad would have turned to somebody else. But yeah, so that's just kind of, you know, I thought it would be a good example for a video, because like I said, I was going to do this anyway. I did not look at this ahead of time. I just started the stream up and opened it and looked at it, you know, while we were looking. And again, I'm not trying to, you know, blame anyone but myself for, you know, any of the mistakes that happened or things that I did or things that happened. But there definitely are opportunities. Like I've already mentioned in Discord, you know, just in general to warriors that, you know, hey, these crazy strings of you know, Grand Widow Faerlina, that was the second boss. Like it sucks to lose buffs on the second boss of the dungeon. It's happened to me before. But you know, when these things happen and they happen on the pull, if this string happens down here, like really that I never had another bad string. I had a couple dodges, dodge, parry, just individually. But if I had a string of those happen in here, nobody dies. If it happens on the pool, people can die, and you could even cause a wipe. And like not cause it, because you're not causing parries and dodges. But if you don't get that aggro, and what happens here is tanks will look at this and say, well, I need to add more threat gear. Like, you know, I was wearing 4-piece tier 3, which is true. You could wear threat gear on Grand Widow. And last week, a week ago Thursday, I wore threat gear on Grand Widow and died. I didn't get healed for 5 seconds, I think, which was part of the problem, but I ate a big crit from her for almost 5k. And I ended up dying, and I lost my buffs on the second boss as a tank, which sucked. So this week I thought, well, I'm not doing that again. I'm going to put on 4-piece tier 3 because it still has a pretty good threat output, but that not when you're getting parried and dodged. You know, so again, it's you're trying to find a good balance, and really I feel like this could just be solved by just having the DPS. You know, maybe you spend a global on the ads and then you switch to Faerlina, or open with Sunder. You know, that's another thing you can look at. Like, let's say if we look at sources, change it to all, and then go to timelines for damage done. So we're already on damage done. Go to timelines. Okay, now Sunder doesn't do damage, so you really can't do damage done. You got to go to casts. It's thinking. It's trying to update. Okay, so I opened with a Bloodthirst at 1.9 seconds. So you can see here, so Suinchi had Spider, a Kiss of the Spider, then he had Death Wish. He didn't cast anything. He didn't cast Bloodthirst or anything. I don't know if he was on an ad or not, but this is, and you can't see white hits in here. So if he's white hitting something, you can't see that unless you go to damage done. But here, so I'm right here. This was my first cast. So what you do is you just go down the line. So this warrior intercepted on the follower, which is fine. You can intercept on followers, and then bloodthirsted the follower. So that's not a big deal. This warrior intercepted Faerlina and then sundered. Great, good job. You sundered first. This warrior waited the bloodthirst until 3 seconds in. That's probably why they lived. Whoops, I'm trying to scroll down. But you can kind of come down like this column here and just see, you know, was anyone's opening, like this person opened with a Sunder and a Heroic Strike. Usually that's fine. That's not a bad, if that was a Heroic or a Sunder and then a Bloodthirst, well really the Bloodthirst would have been 1.5 seconds later, and their Bloodthirst was back here, which I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I don't think it was an opener problem for them. I think it was the parries and the dodges for me, and they got lucky on their crits. This doesn't show how much damage each one was. So now if we go to damage done, where is my name? So I'm right here. Okay. So yeah, Bloodthirst 2200, 2100. And that's right about, and this is at 2 and 2.8 seconds, and that's right about the time I was getting parried and dodged and missed. So like here, Heroic Strike, parry. Revenge, parry. These are all white attacks. This is not the best view. That's why I always go to the events view to look. So it's not like they cast these too early. I don't think that was the problem. They didn't cast them up here at 1 second and rip right away. They waited their global cooldown. I think the issue was just that I got dodged and parried too much. So anyway, it's very helpful to go back and look at logs, especially, like I said, if you want to get better. If you want to be a better tank, looking at logs can take you so far, but part of being a good tank is also positioning, and looking at logs really isn't going to show you anything about positioning. So like I said about Patchwerk, you know, and even going back and watching these fights, I saw things during this stream that I didn't see in the logs and that I didn't realize happened, like letting Sunders fall off. That's part of my job as an off tank. Even as a main tank, if you see Sunders about to fall off, you need to refresh them. We did have IEA rogues in this raid. Obviously, we had IEA up, which is improved exposed armor. But if Sunders are at 5 and they're about to fall off, they need to be refreshed. You cannot let those fall off, period. And I let them fall off, I think, twice. So it helps to reinforce, you know, that, you know, you might go through a raid and be like, oh, I didn't die. I did a 3 or 4 hour Nax raid. I didn't die. Nobody pulled aggro. You know, there's still things that you probably did wrong that if you don't go back and look, you're not going to know to fix it. You're not going to remind yourself next week, oh yeah, don't forget, look at Sunders. Keep an eye on Sunders. Keep an eye on that timer. Don't just look at Demo Shout, look at Sunders too. Even though we got an IEA rogue, like, keep an eye on that. Because sometimes, even though they're right next to each other in my UI, sometimes it's magical how it can escape your view because you're focusing on something else on the screen. That's why I have those announcements happen that say, you know, when cooldowns are up, you'll hear it say Bloodthirst, you'll hear it say Revenge, because it's an audio reminder where I don't have to be watching it. I'm usually spamming those buttons nonstop anyway, but it's another cue to remind me, hey, press that button, dummy. And that's how you can get better. You know, like I said, I do this every week, every single week. Even if I have a good week, I go back and look at VODs, I look at logs, and make sure that, you know, there wasn't some big mistake that I made. And I'll do that on trash too. That's another thing that logs are not great at. You can come in here and look at trash fights, just trash fights. But when you do that, this is every trash fight. This is lumping every trash fight together. So if you're like, oh yeah, there's that one pull in those ghouls, well, you need to know what the name of the ghouls were. And then you have to come down here, like, okay, what was it? There's gargoyles. There's different names of there's different, you know, packs of gargoyles and what time they got pulled. This is like, you know, everything that got killed. So Plagued Ghoul, is that what it was? Well, but then that's probably going to be all the Plague Ghouls that got killed. So if you remember, like, oh no, it was the Plague Ghouls right outside 4 Horsemen. You can go to your VOD and quickly find 4 Horsemen and then back it up to that trash pool and see, you know, what happened. Did I get crit? Did I not put a shield on? What did I do? It's very, very helpful to have these. So, okay. Well, if anyone has any questions or thoughts, post them in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video.